I think the theme which this forum has chosen, the Dominican Republic has chosen, should be commended, because I think if there is one way to strengthen a society, to give it a foundation for growth, for sustained growth, it's education. You need in a society two things to build successful economies. One is you need educated people, the right people to do a job, and secondly you need natural resources. And I think the leaders working on education and investing in education is very important. That's a positive side. The choice is good, but I hope that out of this conference comes also the commitment to invest more in education. In the Western Hemisphere, the level of investment, budget allocation to education is relatively low. So we are less competitive in the world compared to other regions. If you want to survive in today's global economy, you'll have to be competitive. And competitive means in this case that you will have to offer A1 products, which are relatively cheap but high quality and which are necessary. And our Western Hemisphere does not show that kind of creativity in society. For example, in terms of patents, this hemisphere is lagging far behind countries in Southeast Asia. One particular country in Southeast Asia produces more patents, that means inventions, registered inventions, than the whole hemisphere together. That is not a good sign for our competitiveness. In terms of how do you overcome this? Again, education, but very specific kind of education. Education in science, education in technology, education in mathematics. Our children are being taught too much to reproduce knowledge, but not to create knowledge. So our leaders have to understand that they have to invest more in strengthening the creative potential in our societies. If we want to do that, if we want to become competitive as the OECD countries, the richer countries, this hemisphere will need per year 173,000 engineers to be able to do that kind of creativity, to foster that kind of creativity. So we have a long way to go, but we need to invest in mathematics, in science and technology much more. If you want to export, if you want to penetrate markets, and every country to survive will have to broaden their economic markets. If you want to penetrate the market, you will have to provide services or goods which are required, which are cheap, which are available regularly, so that you can provide the numbers which a market requires, and which are of high quality. These are four characteristics of any good export product. Now, we have some limitations to our export capacity. One is size. Not many countries can produce the large numbers, quantities which are required globally. Some countries cannot produce agricultural products, for instance, for what China needs because of the large size of the market. So we have to be aware of that. So we have to work together. Secondly, the technology is not available to be able to produce those high quality products. So we will have to work on that. Thirdly, our connectivity with the world is limited. If we look at air routes and sea routes, those are limited in the Caribbean. If you want to fly from the Caribbean to South America, you have to go first up north to Miami and then down to South America. So we have to do something about accessibility and connectivity through airlines and sea routes. This is where Caribbean countries and Central American countries need to work together to broaden the market. We do not need to go to the global markets. We can work with our own markets in our own region first. There's recognition that a country as the Dominican Republic and its leadership, President Fernandez, understand the importance of promoting competitiveness in the Americas. That's the first thing, recognition for your country. Secondly, having so many business people here will create links with your own business community. So a lot of business deals can be made here in terms of export, in terms of import, in terms of investments. Thirdly, based on these contexts and the policy and the conclusions of this meeting, I hope that we can see a continuation of the strengthening of economies in the Western Hemisphere. We have many trade arrangements, trading agreements between countries. We need to make them useful to our economies. And hopefully through these meetings, through the initiative from the Dominican Republic, these trading arrangements will become more useful to the countries of the hemisphere. So it's a very positive development, but most of all, to be commended is Dr. Leonel Fernandez for his vision, not only for the country, but for the whole hemisphere. My expectation is that we all will come to understand more than ever that to face the challenges of the global financial crisis, we will need to re-engineer our economies and our societies. Not from the short-term perspective, but from a structural long-term perspective. And for that, two things are critical on the agenda here: education and competitivity, innovation and increased productivity. So if we can go away from this meeting with that understanding that we have to invest more in education and commit to invest more in education, and also to realize that we have to support the business community to become more competitive, then I think we have done, then this conference would have been successful from my perspective.